Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A gold prospector in Nome, Alaska around 1905. Nome became famous after gold was discovered there in 1898, drawing thousands of people to the region. Timber rail lines with an 8-horse-drawn carriage around 1902. This system made it easier to move large logs from the forests to processing sites. Gall, a Hunkpapa Sioux leader at Fort Buford, North Dakota, recorded in 1881. He was a significant figure in Indigenous resistance, participating in events such as the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. Tasunka, also known as Plenty Horses, poses with 2 soldiers around 1891. Plenty Horses was a Lakota tribe member involved in key events between Indigenous people and U.S. authorities. Modoc conflict in Siskiyou County, California, recorded around 1873. The Modoc War was a clash between the Modoc people and U.S. forces, driven by Indigenous resistance to land removal. Travelers head to the Klondike goldfields via the Chilkoot Pass, Alaska, in 1898. Each person carried about 2,000 pounds of supplies, the official requirement to survive the Arctic winter. Workers raised the framework of shaft number 1 at Sutro Tunnel, Nevada, around the 1860s. Engineer Adolph Sutro built nearly 4 miles of tunnel to drain water from the Comstock silver mines, beginning operation in 1878. 2 covered wagons crossing the river beside a cable ferry around 1903. This mode of transport was used to carry people, livestock, and goods across wide rivers. Wade and Jones Railroad Camp in Whitewood Canyon, South Dakota, recorded it in 1890. Such camps were common during railroad construction, housing workers, and storing materials. Photography assistance in Colorado with William Henry Jackson, around 1873. Jackson was one of the first to document the landscapes of the American West in photographs. Looking Glass, a Nez Perce chief, on horseback in front of a teepee, photographed in 1877. He was a key leader during the forced relocation of the Nez Perce by the U.S. government. Group of miners during the California Gold Rush around the 1850s. This movement drew thousands of people from around the world seeking fortune. Workers stack alfalfa hay bales at the Stockdale Ranch in California around 1888. Alfalfa was a key crop for feeding cattle in the region, especially during the dry months. Summit Tunnel, Tunnel 2, with a Chinese worker in front of the North Portal, photographed in 1880. Immigrant laborers, especially from China, were vital to building the United States railroads. The Watchtower on the west slope of the Wasatch Mountains, Utah, recorded in 1873. This mountain region is known for its striking rock formations that drew explorers and travelers. 4 rows of wagon caravans traveled down a dusty road in Yavapai County, Arizona. The steady flow carried provisions, lumber, and mail to nearby mines and farms around 1900. View of Cheyenne, Wyoming, recorded in 1877. The city was founded in 1867 as a key point on the Union Pacific Railroad route, fueling rapid growth. Meal scene during a roundup, photographed between 1887 and 1892. Roundups were seasonal events in which cowboys gathered stray cattle for branding or transport. Mormon emigrants cross a mountain region with a covered wagon caravan around 1879. These caravans were vital for the migration of thousands seeking new lands in the American West. A herd of bison cools off in a river around 1904. During this period, bison numbers had dropped drastically because of overhunting. Apache Warm Springs Scouts serving the U.S. Army at Tule Lake, California, between 1872 and 1873. They patrolled trails and relayed information on routes and resources, supporting travel and settlements. Native American woman standing in front of a teepee in Minnesota during the 1800s. Teepees were traditional dwellings used by various indigenous peoples of the Great Plains. Lamar Pockebro and his family, members of the Bannock people, recorded around 1897. The Bannock are an indigenous group traditionally associated with what is now Idaho. A. Steyer and Ute Friends, documented around 1886. The Ute people originate from the mountainous regions of the western United States, including Utah and Colorado. Lyon's well in the desert, where water was sold in Colorado around 1900. In arid regions like this, wells were essential for supplying water to travelers and residents. Osage group gathers in northern Indian Territory, now Oklahoma, in 1879. At the time, they farmed corn, hunted bison, and held councils to decide on their lands. Crow group poses in northern Montana around 1900. They raised horses, hunted bison, and lived near the Yellowstone River. Barker, the hermit of the Black Hills in his cave, recorded around 1900. The Black Hills of South Dakota were known for their natural beauty and as a refuge for those seeking solitude. Makeshift dining area near San Bernardino, California, around 1889 to 1890. Workers set up simple tables and benches to serve meals during the construction of farms and railroads in the region. F.B. Sever Store in Ocmulgee, Indian Territory, recorded on September 9, 1875. Ocmulgee became the capital of the Creek Nation after the forced relocation of indigenous peoples to the area. Lieutenant Colonel Baker and officers at Fort Ellis in Montana, recorded in 1871. Fort Ellis was a military post established to protect settlers and transport routes in the American West. Packing and loading of a flour mule train during the supply march of General George Crook's expedition in the Black Hills, recorded in 1876. The expedition was part of U.S. military campaigns against indigenous peoples in the area. Tejon Pass crosses the Sierra Nevada mountains in California around 1868. The route served as a vital link between the Central Valley and the southern part of the state, facilitating the movement of goods and travelers. A young soldier and his horse on duty at Cheyenne Camp, South Dakota, recorded in 1890. Military camps like this were established to protect settlements and transport routes during westward expansion. Guthrie, Indian Territory, recorded on May 23, 1889. The town was rapidly built following the Oklahoma land run held the previous month. Guthrie, Indian Territory, 2 days after the land run, on April 24, 1889. The town was quickly established after the Oklahoma land run, when thousands of settlers claimed property in the area. View of Fremont, Nebraska, recorded in 1867. The city was founded as a strategic point in the westward expansion of the United States, driven by the arrival of the railroads. View of Susanville, Oregon. The town began as a small mining settlement in the 19th century during the regional gold rush. Main Street in Breckenridge, Colorado, recorded between 1892 and 1895. The town developed as a gold and silver mining center in the Rocky Mountains. Circle Fire Department in Alaska, recorded around 1900. The town of Circle emerged during the gold rush and quickly organized essential services like firefighting. Stonecutters work at the Fort Lyon Quarry, southern Colorado, around 1867. The quarried stones supplied forts, warehouses, and roads that spurred frontier growth. J.W. Swartz Saloon in Charleston, Arizona, in 1885. Saloons like this were important gathering spots in Old West towns. The main street of Prescott, Arizona, photographed in the late 1800s. Prescott was the capital of the Arizona Territory until 1889 and served as an important commercial and administrative center. Scene captured in Coburg, Nebraska Territory between 1884 and 1885. At that time, the area was not yet officially a state of the United States. Waist-up portrait of an unidentified Cheyenne individual. The Cheyenne are an indigenous people of the Great Plains, known for their warrior culture and horse-raising skills. Anadarko Town Site in Oklahoma Territory, recorded on August 8, 1901. The town was founded during the land run for settlement, following the forced removal of indigenous peoples. Camp View under the Echo Rocks in Summit County, Utah, recorded in 1869. Echo Canyon was a key passage point for migrants and workers building the Transcontinental Railroad. Man beside the furnace used to power the steam pump extracting water at McClung Ranch, Kern County, California, recorded in 1888. Equipment like this was essential to ensure water supply in agricultural and ranching areas. Indigenous scaffold burial in Greenwood, South Dakota, recorded before 1890. This type of burial was a traditional practice of some native peoples, placing bodies elevated to protect them from animals and honor spiritual beliefs. Horse-drawn fire wagon in Austin, Texas, photographed around 1892. Vehicles like this were used to carry equipment and crews to emergency sites. Street scene in early Fort Worth. Located in Texas, Fort Worth began as a military outpost in the mid-1800s and quickly grew into a commercial and cattle center. Bluff, Alaska, recorded around 1901. The town emerged during the gold rush, attracting prospectors and traders to the coastal area. Street scene in Aspen, Colorado, recorded between 1882 and 1892. Aspen quickly grew into a silver mining center in the late 1800s. Merchants Hotel in Abilene, Kansas, recorded in 1879. Abilene was one of the first major cattle transport hubs in the American West. Printing office in Porterville, California, recorded in 1870. Establishments like this were essential for producing newspapers, advertisements, and documents that kept the community informed. Mule-drawn wagon caravan in Dakota Territory, recorded in 1885. These caravans carried supplies, goods, and families over long distances across the American plains. Prospector with his wagon on a road near Quartzsite, Arizona, around 1900. Quartzsite was known for gold and gem mining. McLaughlin and colleagues inspect the flume in Coal Canyon, Butte County, California, around 1880. The wooden chute carried logs down the mountain to the Feather River, speeding delivery to local sawmills. View of Yankton in Dakota Territory, recorded in 1874. The city was the territorial capital, serving as a trade and administrative center on the frontier. Jim Baker served as an interpreter for the Ute people in Colorado Territory from 1864 to 1874. He spoke several indigenous languages and assisted in peace negotiations, guiding officers and travelers through the Rocky Mountain region. Steamboat travels the Colorado River, Arizona, around 1865. These vessels carried people, supplies, and ore between isolated settlements and military outposts. Art Pulliam hunts coyotes in West Union, Custer County, Nebraska, in 1889. Coyote hunting was a common practice in the area to protect livestock and crops. Solomon D. Butcher poses in front of his first home in Nebraska, around 1886. The building, made of earth and sod, was known as a dugout and was common among pioneers who faced a shortage of lumber in the area. D. Dunn and his family pose in front of their tent in Custer County, Nebraska, in 1886. They had just arrived to settle the land they had claimed under the homestead laws. George Carnack, a miner, poses in front of a wooden cabin in the Yukon Territory around 1897. During the Klondike Gold Rush, many miners built basic cabins to shelter from the intense cold. Cowboys sitting beside supply wagons, photographed between 1880 and 1910. These wagons carried food, tools, and equipment needed for ranch work and long journeys across the West. Dinner time at a cowboy camp on the banks of the Yellowstone River in Montana. The Yellowstone is one of the most significant rivers in the American West. The Haumont family in front of a two-story sod house in Custer County, Nebraska, around 1886. Sod houses were common among settlers because of the timber shortage in the area. Tavern in Southern California, recorded between 1890 and 1900. Such establishments served as rest stops for travelers, offering food, lodging, and social space. Commercial shops in Santa Fe, New Mexico Territory. Santa Fe was one of the main trade and cultural centers of the southwestern United States. Meat market in Enid, Oklahoma Territory, recorded in 1893. The stall supplied fresh cuts to settlers arriving after that year's land run. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.